Children, this is a Manoj Kumar working in Oxford High School, Uppugunduru. Welcome to social class. We have been discussing about forest using and protecting. Okay, now forest using and protecting. See, we go earlier years, way back to 1900, okay, now 50s. If you see everywhere before 1900, if you see everywhere, then all over the world forests were spreaded, except a few places like Arctic regions, because these regions always covered with snow, isn't it or not? So, except snow regions, everywhere these forest areas spreaded, because by the time before 1900 population was very less all over the world, so that everywhere then tree, okay, so trees grow well, okay, then spread it everywhere. But later years, so what happened, whenever population increases, then these people try to start agriculture activities, then they cut down the forest area, then they practices agriculture, then they built pakka houses. By that time also they cut down the forest, they built the houses. Such a manner gradually forest cover decreased. That is the general things we know. What in your textbook given, see, several thousands years ago forest grew almost everywhere except in Arctic regions. Just now I told you, except Arctic regions, everywhere which grown forest covered everywhere else. Human beings took to agricultural and living in villages and towns. Forests were cut down for agricultural purpose, mines purpose, plantation purpose, industries purpose. They cut down the forest area. Just now I explained you. You know, so especially some mines are placed especially under the forest, then they wanted to dig out that mines, so initially they cut down the forest area, then they take out the mines. Such a manner some forest cover decreased. For they wanted to build industry in faraway places, they choose a wide area, they cut down the trees, then they build the industries. Such a manner some forest cover decreased. Okay, then if you wanted to identify the forest, classify the forest, how you will classify the forest? Generally by seeing the forest cover, whether that is a thick forest cover, and that means a dense forest, or else less dense forest. By seeing that one, we will classify the forest. If suppose thick forest cover is there, that means you're very near to the tree. Okay, nearby trees are growing, side by side trees are going. That generally we called as thick forest cover, isn't it or not? Such a manner we will classify the forest. Then, so generally how forests are classified: very dense forest, open scrub forest, degraded forest. Very dense forest in the sense everywhere trees are growing, especially in particular area, side by side trees are growing. That is very dense forest. So people are unable to go inside of that forest area, where very dense forest. Dense forest compared to very dense forest, trees are little less. Open scrub forest. So here then very little trees we can observe. Then degraded forest means so we can't identify any kind of trees in a degraded forest. So many people cut down the forest cover, then no trees are growing in that. So which area? Yes, a degraded forest area. Generally, this classification help us to find out where thick forests are existed, where degraded forests are existed. Okay, now by seeing that one, government will realize where we have to grow plantation. Okay, now which area should have given the priority, like that they have some idea. By seeing that information, governments will realize the importance of the trees, isn't it or not? That information also needy information for the governments. So come to our lesson. So now we are going to learn the classification of forests, different types of forests. Sir, what is the different types of forests we have? Yes, surely we have evergreen forest, then deciduous forest, then thorny forest, then littoral forest. Tell me once again: evergreen forest, deciduous forest, then littoral forest, then thorny bush forest. Okay na? Evergreen forest, deciduous forest, then littoral forest, then thorny forest. So in your textbook, these four classification of forests given. First, in this session, we will learn clearly about evergreen forest. Examination point of view, these classification of forests are very important. Okay, na? So that you learn very neatly and very clearly regarding evergreen forest. If you see the this term evergreen, what do you will understand? What you will understand? So evergreen in the sense, if you see everywhere, greenery will appear. That means number of densely trees are growing in that particular area. That is evergreen forest. Okay, na? So especially we have a doubt, sir, where we can able to see these evergreen forests, sir. So I will explain you regarding that. Especially if I ask you what is the main features of equatorial regions, we know that high temperatures are recording. At the same time, high rainfall also falling in that equatorial regions. Isn't it or not? Tell me. Yes, high temperatures, high rainfall registering in equatorial regions. These are the features of equatorial regions. If we can find high temperatures as well as high rainfall, automatically we can find evergreen forest in that area. Surely. Okay, na? So that finally what we can say, equatorial regions contains evergreen forest. That is the final statement we will give. Then, if you go Himalayas, Himalayas are the birthplaces of which rivers? Perennial rivers. Perennial rivers means permanent rivers. So that these Himalayas always covered with snow. So in the Himalayas we are able to see the evergreen forest. Come to our Andhra Pradesh. Shall we find evergreen forest in Andhra Pradesh? No, surely no. Okay, na? In Andhra Pradesh, in rainy season, so now and then we will receive the rains. Isn't it or not? Rainy season, so little bit rainfall we will receive. So in the winter and summer, we don't have any kind of rainfall. Only depressions time, cyclone times, rains fallen in our area. Isn't it or not? So there is no chance to grow evergreen forest in Andhra Pradesh. But in India, where we can able to find evergreen forests, yourself you identify. Tell me anybody. Yes, if you see Kerala, okay, na? First southwest monsoons reaches the Kerala. So rains are falling heavily in the Kerala because that is Western Ghat area. Western Ghats areas receives highest rainfalls. So that automatically we can find the evergreen forest in Western Ghats area. Especially in the Kerala we can see evergreen forest. Then guess it another name where we can see evergreen forest in India. That is island. Island Union Territory. Tell me. Yes, Andaman Nicobar Islands. We can see evergreen forests in Andaman Nicobar Islands. In these two places, we can find which kind of forest? Evergreen forest. Okay, na? Why these areas we can able to see evergreen forest? Those areas receiving rainfalls heavily. Okay, now but then that areas receiving rainfalls. That's why we are able to see evergreen forests in that particular areas. Just we will see regions which get very high rainfall and also have a very warm climate like equatorial regions. Regions like Kerala and Andaman in India have evergreen forests. Just now clearly I explained you. If you see Andaman Nicobar Island and Kerala, warm conditions prevailed. At the same time, rains are falling heavily. Okay, na? Equatorial type of climatic conditions prevailed in these two areas. Then these are dense forests with a very large variety of trees, plants, creepers, etc. If you go those places, we are able to see n number of trees, then n number of plants, creepers. Okay, now so all these are growing in that particular area. Okay, now so these areas looking very green, always looking very green. If trees shed their leaves, immediately then new leaves will come. That is the great feature of this area, evergreen forest having. Okay, so these forests are always green as the trees shed their leaves but get new leaves immediately. Okay, na? So jamun, canes, bamboos, kadam, etc. are some characteristic trees of these regions. That means we can able to see jamun trees, canes. Okay, na? That means canes, bamboos, kadam, such kind of trees are we are able to see in which area? Yes, evergreen forest area. We do not have such forests in AP, already I told you. So we are not able to see jamun, canes, bamboos, kadams in Andhra Pradesh. Or bamboos we can see in some areas. Yes, in Andhra Pradesh, bamboos in some areas, these are growing. Okay, na? So put aside that one. Evergreen forest not growing, not located in Andhra Pradesh. That is the final statement we have to receive. Okay, na? Then different kinds of evergreen forest in the Himalayas. If you see your textbook, in textbook one image given, Himalaya region image given. So Himalaya regions also contain evergreen forest. In Himalayas we are able to see another kind of trees. Okay, na? These trees not bearing the fruits, not bearing the flowers, but these trees contains the cones. Okay, na? So that we can say these trees are bearing the cones, so that these trees are called as coniferous trees. Which trees? Coniferous trees, very important. Different kinds of evergreen forests in the Himalayas. These are pine trees which remain green throughout the year. Pine trees which remain throughout the year. Okay, na? So they have leaves which are very thin and in the shape of needles. These trees don't bear flowers. Which trees? Pine trees. Okay, na? These trees don't bear flowers but produce cones. Which trees produce cones? Pine trees. Okay, na? Then we can say these are called coniferous trees. Which trees are called as coniferous trees? Pine trees are called as coniferous trees. Remember that one? Very important. Pine trees called as coniferous trees. Okay, na? Why? Reason also I explained you just now. These trees don't bear flowers but produces cones. So that the very name given to these trees, coniferous trees. Okay, na? Snow, especially in that area, snow always falling. Whenever snow falls on the cones, then immediately it falls down, isn't it or not? Okay, na? So there is no possibility to, okay, na? So to deposit snow on the top of those trees. Shape is different. That's why snow immediately falling down. Okay, so that is the greatness of those trees. Do you understand? Up to now, what we discussed about forests. Earlier, thousands years back, then forest everywhere, forest cover people observed. Then except a few places like Antarctic region, then everywhere else the forest spreaded. Afterwards, due to agricultural operations, due to digging of mines, due to built industries, forest cover decreased. Okay, na? So human beings are the causes to decrease the forest area based on the thickness of the forest. Then classification done. Then here we are going to discuss how many classifications? 4 classifications. Number 1 is evergreen forest. Number 2 is deciduous forest. Number 3 is thorny forest. Number 4 is a littoral forest. Regarding evergreen forest, clearly I explained you. In Andhra Pradesh, we are not able to see evergreen forest. Andaman Nicobar Islands, Kerala, we are able to see evergreen forest throughout the year. Okay, we can see greenery in those areas. Even though trees shed their leaves, immediately new leaves will come. Okay, that is the great feature of evergreen forest. Then in Himalayas, we are able to see one kind of trees, that is pine trees. These pine trees not bear flowers. Then these pine trees producing the cones, so that these trees called as coniferous trees. Whenever snow is falling on the trees, immediately coming down. Okay, so these are the features we observed in evergreen forest. Okay, once you go through textbook, then see regarding evergreen forest. This classification is very important for examination point of view. Okay, na? Thank you very much.